Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Adita Karkera, Chief Data Officer for Deloitte's Government and Public Services. And today I have the great privilege to be talking to Kirsten Delbo, Chief Data Officer for Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Kirsten, welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's always fun to chat with you, Adita.
I'm so happy to have you on the show today, Kirsten, because data culture and cultivating that data-driven approach really is a key part of the CDO's role. And I'm wondering how that has shaped out for you, your challenges and your opportunities with creating that data-driven culture at work.
Yeah, so especially when you're new to an organization, I mean, so much of this is about building trust. I mean, there's always going to be the world of people who wonders why you're here because hey, we've been operating fine without you, right? So I do a lot of outreach and coordination across the different offices, finding my champions. I think this is where data governance and having a data governance board is really important in that the data governance board tells you who your particular um, connection point of contact is into a particular office. And so those become the people that I want to build really strong relationships with um, and make sure that they trust me and my team and what we're working to do. But then there's also just the like sort of prove it side of things. So when I first got to FERC, one of the big projects that we undertook was a reporting modernization project. So as I was looking around, looking at available budget, looking at our technology stack, I discovered a very old legacy reporting platform, um, Crystal Reports platform, kind of running everything was sort of generating into PDF style reports. So depending on how you counted the reports, we had anywhere from 500 to 700 reports in that platform. Um, but they were all effectively kind of static reports. They were not easily filterable. So a lot of those reports were effectively copies of each other, but just showing different maybe sort orders or filters. But then because they were clearly built at different times, some of them actually were using different logic, which was then becoming a big concern because, hey, if you pull up this report versus that report, you might get a different count of the number of audits, for example, that we have going on. And so the reporting modernization project became a really key part of promoting the data-driven culture because it helped people understand, okay, that first of all, there's more modern tools out there. Let's get this into a more modern tool where you can do more interactive filtering and sorting of this data to get the answer that you need quickly. But also, this is a really great opportunity to learn what data governance is and why data governance matters. So if we're going to be reporting on these consistent core terms and data elements, we better make sure that we have consistent definitions for those things. So it was a really great exercise in getting common definitions established, teaching people why governance matters, and then getting them excited about an actual fun tool to work with. So we were building, it also got us into our cloud platform sooner than we had planned because we were able to um, inspire people with the excitement of, hey, let's get into Power BI. Let's start, building more consistent data models, more self-service capabilities. So that was a really nice sort of carrot versus stick. So it helped people get excited about why data-driven culture is important. So that was sort of one part of the strategy. Okay, here's an actual, if people get excited about using the new tool, so they're more inspired to invest in the process of governance and participate um, in the definition process and all of those types of activities. Data stewardship also became a really important part of the strategy of promoting a data-driven culture. I know when I got to FERC, and this was not unique to FERC, this has happened at every organization that I've been to, where there's always some community sort of asking if I'm here to take away all of their data. And so data stewardship is a really important part of the strategy to say, I'm absolutely not here to take away anyone's data. If anything, my goal is to empower all of you who are doing some version of, everyone's doing data stewardship, whether they know it or not. Most people are doing some version of informal data stewardship though. So establishing a formal data stewardship program is really important to help empower the people who are working as data stewards already. But it's also to remind an organization that the knowledge, the stewardship, the accountability of data largely lives within the program offices themselves. They're the people with the subject matter expertise on all of these very specific areas, like grid reliability. I'm not an expert in grid reliability, so I'm not going to be an expert in all of the data that helps us understand that. there is a very particular office at FERC who specializes in that. So I want to make sure that we're empowering them effectively to be able to catalog all of the data that helps them do their grid reliability assessments as effectively as possible. Similarly, we have an Office of Enforcement who's looking for, fraudulent trading behavior. They are experts in all of that. So data stewardship is really important because it helps people understand that this is a team sport. We're all here together. So it gets people kind of bought into the process. Hey, I'm not here to take anyone's data. Rather, I'm here to help empower all of them work with their data as effectively as possible. So I'm here to establish sort of broader data governance processes and the consistent methodologies around data governance and data management, help them get them tools to be as effective as they can be in data stewardship. And then just a few other things. I mean, we also established a data science training program with monthly lunch and learns. So that's been really fun as well to offer different, monthly we'll pick a topic, business intelligence, GIS, geospatial analysis, data science, data stewardship, data governance, various different topics, put that out to the whole organization. And it's been exciting to see how much participation we've had in that. So that's, again, promotes that data-driven culture. And then data product governance has been probably as of late one of the big pushes that I've been working on, just because I really believe that the future is really in kind of self-service analytics. We're at a point now where many people have data science skills, an economist, an energy industry analyst, a statistician. They're all effectively doing data science. And so, but I want to make sure that if they're building out a data product, some analytical tool, some report, that they're doing it as safely as possible, that they're doing it consistently. So if they're putting out some product that says XYZ, you would see the same number on a different product that's saying the same XYZ. Again, to the earlier comment about like number of audits, if two different products are going to be counting audits, we better be doing it consistently. So data product governance has been a big push to say, hey, I want to empower all of you in our program offices to be able to do any of the analytics you need to do your daily jobs. But I want to make sure that you're following a consistent governance process so that as you're moving from a proof of concept, just, trying things out, and now you're ready to productionalize this, get this into a space that a broader user community could interact with this, that we're following a governance process to ensure that you're sourcing your data from the authoritative trusted source, that you're defining things consistently according to the organizationally governed definitions of things. If you're proposing a new definition, let's bring that through governance so that we as an organization can make sure that we all agree to this definition. So that's been another sort of recent push now as we continue to promote that data-driven culture.
Kirsten, great pieces of nuggets that I'm tracking here, as you were talking about the driving the data culture, your emphasis on like not just talking, but actually showing it to them in terms of quick wins and telling them, how this can actually be done to get them engaged and get them like, yes, this really matters. It's now their problem. Data is everybody's business, right? Some great nuggets there. I also love what you're doing with your Lunch and Learn data science program. It's like you said, we can continue to create data products, but if they're not understanding every bit of it and they don't have the knowledge to interpret all of it, it's not going to be usable. So kind of creating that culture of learning constantly, I think is fantastic. As you talk about data science and you talk about other responsibilities in your CDO office, and I'm curious, just because of everything that's going on with AI in the world, does that fall under your portfolio as well, or is that under another office?
So this is, again, where it's fantastic that the CIO and have a great partnership. So right now the chief AI officer is our CIO, but we work very closely together. And as we're standing up, creating our AI policies and our AI governance, it's very tightly coupled with all of the data work. And so, like particularly with our AI policy, like, my CIO and I talk all the time about how we're kind of a three-legged stool of the CIO, the CDO, and the CISO, the Chief Information Security Office. So the three of us are very tightly partnered on kind of all of the AI policy and governance activities. And I think because of all of the work that I've been doing on data governance for the past 5 years, it's actually been exciting how obvious it's been to everyone. not just those of us on the technology and data side, but also the program offices that, any work that we do with AI will have to be very closely connected with all of our data governance processes. So it doesn't like formally sit with me, but I'm very closely connected into all of that activity.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I talk to a lot of CDOs in the federal and the state space, and sometimes I get an answer that I don't own this. This is not part of my portfolio. But underneath it, like you said, data underpins all of this. Data is what is fueling all of the AI powered applications. So I cannot imagine them not being part of the conversation. So I can completely agree with where you are in your journey, as in you're still part of the conversation, but there's a separate chief AI officer that's established for the commission. Great. Well, two other points that I caught, Kirsten, as you were talking about. I know you touched on data stewardship, data governance is big. What in your mind are probably like top one or two priorities that you're wanting to get done in the next 6 months? What are you prioritizing for data management? If you could share even maybe one example with the audience.
Sure. I mean, so because I have been a CDO for 5 years, and I know they say that CDOs right now are kind of turning over every like year and a half, 2 years. So I am, as you said, a long termer at this point. Um, and so now we're sort of shifting from the maturity of data governance and getting our platform operational. Our next big priorities are really about the data operations maturity. So making sure that we have really strong, robust processes in place for tracking all of our data projects, ensuring that we're meeting all of our data governance requirements around tracking of our data projects, that we're building all of this into our DevOps and product backlog planning. So we really want to make sure that we have a really strong data operations function moving forward, because now we really are shifting from kind of the startup mode into no, we're an operational function that we want to make sure that we are cleanly ingesting data, that this is the right data to be ingesting, that it's well documented, we have all of the metadata tracked, it is well stewarded. So that's a big priority now of ensuring that we're building in all of those reviews, the checks and the balances to ensure consistency in our platform architecture. And then the other big priority now is, okay, we have this really great platform up and running. There is still a whole lot of work happening in the on-prem environment. So there's now a big push around kind of what we're calling analytic workload migration and reduction of on-prem use. So we've now undertaken a big effort to start inventorying all of our on-prem analytic workloads, working with all of our different program offices to understand how heavily all each of those workloads are even used. Which of those do we need to keep as we shift into the cloud, and then working with them on the change management of that process. Because yes, you will still be able to run this workload in the cloud, but tools in the cloud operate a little bit differently than they do on-prem. So there's going to be some refactoring that we need to do of these workloads. And frankly, lots of modernization. I mean, some of our on-prem workloads don't look that pretty compared to some of our modern tools. I mean, so also just getting people used to the fact that, hey, it's going to look a little bit different. So we have a lot of kind of, we're calling it we have change management resources. We even have a call order that was specifically called change management, specific to this analytic workload migration. So that's now been a big push to say, yes, it's great that we have this cloud platform up and running, and a lot of our new work has been happening there in the recent years, but there's still a whole world of legacy activities happening in our on-prem environment, and we want to shift out of that. So we have certain workloads that I'm sure everyone is familiar with the workloads that run 8 to 12 hours overnight, and they often time out or error out at some point, and then you have to do it all again the next day and hope it doesn't error out or time out. We can shift all that to the cloud, but it does mean there's a level of refactoring that needs to happen there. Um, and oftentimes, we need to make sure that the code is running more efficiently for the cloud, because hey, we get charged for this stuff differently. But hey, now it's going to run in 4 minutes as opposed to your 8 to 12 hours. So those are probably the two big pushes now as we're moving into more of a mature organization, moving out of that kind of startup mentality. So it's the maturity of our data operations and the analytic workload migration and reduction of our on-prem environment.
Well, let me just say, you are a great role model. So thank you for being there, and thank you for all the work that you do to mentor other women to come into this space. And also thank you for all the support with the federal government chapter for women in data. So, Kirsten, thank you for your efforts, and thank you for being with us today and sharing all your perspectives with the audience. It's always great catching up with you, and thank you for sharing all of those experiences. For the audience, please continue to visit our websites. There are so many more great perspectives lined up for you. So be sure to check out those Deloitte and CDO Magazine interviews out there. Thank you.